Good evening, one and all. My name is Avinash. I am a PhD scholar from IIT Madras. I am doing my PhD under Dr. V. Raghavan and Dr. Amit Kumar. My work is on experimental study of flame characteristics over condensed fuel surfaces. So basically the motivation of this study is how one burning surface affects another burning surface. So effects such as enhancement in burning due to increased heat transfer or a suppression in burning due to reduced amount of oxygen supply is what is to be studied. So the flame spread rate, the variation of this flame spread rate with respect to parameters such as angular orientation, the width of the fuel sheets, the number of fuel sheets and their separation distance between them is studied. So this is the setup wherein the thin fuel sheet, that is namely cellulose, the thin fuel sheets namely cellulose is used here. So basically two aluminum frames hold one single fuel sheet. The inclination shown here is that of 60 degrees. So the methodology or the schematic of how the multiple fuel sheets is loaded is shown here. The flame anchoring point is tracked, and so what was seen was for single fuel sheet the maximum spread rate was shown at 90 degrees vertical upward flame spread, but that was not seen in the case of multiple fuel sheets because when closer separation distances the spread rates were lower, and at an optimum separation distance when oxygen and oxygen supply was higher and the amount of heat transfer was higher gave the maximum spread rates. However, the angles at which these produced maximum were not same everywhere. Alright, thank you.
So we are modeling gas phase combustion and pyrolysis of carbon black formation. So I am from Aditya Birla Science and Technology Center. So the background is carbon black is a powdery form of elemental carbon which is produced, and this is a typical carbon black reactor. So our objective of the study which we are doing is to develop a fundamental understanding of carbon black formation process through modeling. So the approach which we are using is we are using a surrogate, and then we are using a detailed kinetic mechanism, and on the basis of that we are studying the gas phase chemistry. We are using ANSYS Fluent as a software, and then we are using liquid as my fuel is vaporized, and then we are using a non-premix combustion model. So initially we did some simulation with a simple fuel, that is cryosine, and we these are the plots of different aromatic species which we call pH1, pH2 or acetylene. So what we have also done is we have done some model validation. So for what we have done, selected a different surrogate for as a function which will represent my CBFS, and then validated for industrial data. So this is my industrial data for 5 different grades, process conditions, and this is what my model prediction is here. So my model, although quantitatively it is less, but it is able to show the trends. So after that what we have done is we have done some parametric study, and where we have tried to study the effect of process temperature and the effect of air feedstock ratio, and we can see that this is a comparison of the result with the literature, and we can see that my effect of process temperature is the temperature prediction is very good, but my air to feedstock ratio predictions are also very qualitatively good. So what we want to do is going forward we want to combine this gas phase chemistry study with the particle formation, and then want to study how my process parameters affect my carbon black formation, and that's what my future work is. Thank you.
Good afternoon everyone. In this presentation I am going to give a brief introduction about the combustion characteristics of alternative fuel spark ignition engine. So here we are using a gasoline, ethanol blended gasoline and a gaseous fuel hydrogen as a fuel for spark ignition engine. So mainly we have selected ethanol and hydrogen based on its carbon neutral nature as well as a pollution free nature. So here combustion characteristics like peak in cylinder pressure, heat release rate, cumulative heat release rate, and parameter optimizations like spark timing, start of injection, duration of injection for gaseous fuel operation as well as for liquid fuel operation is optimized. So here we have carried out an experimental study on a single cylinder spark ignition engine which is having a maximum load of rated power of this engine is 2.1 kilowatt. So in first, this is the experimental setup where we can see the engine and the loading panel, because this is a constant speed single cylinder genset engine. And here you can see the combustion analysis system, airflow system, loading panel, liquid flow system. All these are shown in the experimental setup. Coming to results and discussion, so we have kept a fixed load to carry the combustion analysis. So we kept a 2 kilowatt as a loading condition, and we analyzed the combustion parameters. So if we compare the combustion parameters with gasoline and E15, we can observe the gasoline fueled engine are having a higher peak in cylinder pressure as compared to ethanol. As well as if you see the hydrogen fuel operation, the peak in cylinder pressure is higher as compared to gasoline, and for hydrogen fuel operation we optimize the spark timing and this duration of injection to get the maximum brake torque. So after doing all these combustion characteristics, we can conclude that hydrogen is a best fuel in view of pollution free nature as well as power generation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Raj Kumar and I work for GE Oil and Gas. So this is one of the business verticals among others that we do have in our GE. So we have GE Aviation, we have GE Healthcare, and then we do have GE Transportation. So I basically work for GE Oil and Gas for reciprocating compression systems. So this is one of the you can call it's one of the division of GE Oil and Gas. So here the presentation what I would be doing right now is, I mean this presentation is more or less related to the combustion and heat transfer analysis of reciprocating engines that is used in oil and gas industry. Now many people may be not aware of where exactly these these engines are used in oil and gas industry. Now if you look at the clear picture of oil and gas industry, we do have three different streams. The first stream is you have upstream, and then you have a midstream, and then you have a downstream. So upstream is all about the exploration, the R&D, and the stuffs that are associated with this. So the midstream is all about the processing, the transmission of this oil and gas. And then of course you have the downstream, wherein you have the storage, the reservoir activities, as well as you have the marketing, the sales, and distribution. Okay, now let me come back to my presentation. So if you look here, now the background for this presentation is, now we all know that the clean natural gas, the demand is growing day by day. It is increasingly, the demand is increasingly growing day by day. So a lot of energy companies, they are exploring various effective methods to optimize the production and distribution of natural gas. So GE as a company, we offer many technologies to fit all segments of the oil and gas. That includes low speed and high speed, integral and separable gas compression equipments. Now we do have different teams in our oil and gas business, like the one is called as the NPI team. Now this NPI team is this is an acronym for new product innovation. So this team we try to design, analyze, and then we try to do a lot of CFD analysis, combustion analysis, and the CHT analysis, the mechanical analysis using various available commercial codes. Like we do use Convert CFD software for combustion analysis. We do use ANSYS Fluent, the ANSYS Mechanical for mechanical and CFD analysis respectively. So I mean I'll just not take much time, maybe another 10-15 seconds. I'll just let you know the brief methodology about doing this kind of analysis. So initially, as soon as we get a geometry from the NPI designer, we try to clean it up, and then we do meshing. So once the meshing is done, we try to pitch in the boundary conditions, wherein this is solved in ANSYS Fluent, and then the results are simulated, and then we do get the results. So prior to doing this conjugate heat transfer analysis, the input for this conjugate heat transfer analysis is basically from this combustion analysis. So if I have to conclude my presentation, I would say that we have successfully used the analytical tools in the following areas. Like the first thing is enhancement of combustion and the emission performances using CFD methodologies, and then improving the life expectancy using mechanical analysis. Thank you.
My name is Prakash and I am working for my master's project which is titled Numerical Modeling of Coal Furnace in IIT Hyderabad. This is a new type of combustion modeling which takes the advantage of characterizing a fuel not in terms of ultimate approximate analysis but in terms of functional group sources, which gives rise to different gaseous species. Basically we have used functional group sources, functional group characterization of any fuel instead of using the ultimate and approximate analysis of a coal. What this functional group analysis gives us is how much amount of particular gaseous species will be evolved can be tracked by using the functional group sources that gives rise to those gaseous species. So the model works like this. If a functional group sources are there which gives rise to different gaseous species, we can track those functional sources to obtain the amount and the rate of different amount and different rates of different sources of gaseous species. The objective of my project is to model the my objective is to find the exit flue gas concentrations at the for this furnace. For this, I am splitting the furnace into different zones. That means in a particular level there will be 4 zones which will have equal height and equal width. So right now I have been testing the assumption that how much time it takes for a functional group to be completely devolatilized. For that I have done some rigorous calculations which represents these graphs. All these graphs tells us is how much time it requires for a functional group source to be completely devolatilized. So for that I have calculated and it is giving an approximate answers where I can use the results to further improve my validation purposes. That's it.
Very good afternoon to one and all. My name is Jensen Samuel and I am from IIT Madras and I am doing my PhD with Professor A. Ramesh. And my topic is on combustion modeling in common rail direct injection diesel engine for real-time control. So the main aim of this work is to model the ignition delay in a direct injection diesel engine, and then to model a predictive zero-dimensional combustion model to predict the heat release rate and also to predict the in-cylinder pressure. And the main aim is initially to simulate the work, and then also we are trying to adopt this model for use in ECU, and also to validate these models under transient conditions. So the motivation of this work is that during transient conditions we see that combustion instability has been a very critical issue, because there is an inertia of air which is entering into the cylinder, and due to this inertia there is that combustion gets unstable, and to overcome this instability we are trying to predict the combustion which is taking place by putting our model inside the ECU and predicting it in a real time. So quickly going into the instrumentation of the engine, we have a Mahindra M-Hawk engine which is powering Scorpio. So it is a state-of-the-art engine with turbocharger, intercooler and all the features of a modern diesel engine. And also the engine was flush mounted with a cylinder pressure sensor which is from Kistler, and you can see the cylinder with the pressure sensor was put at this point. And pardon? Yeah. So also we have a crank angle encoder, and so it's instrumented in this way. And the experimental setup has got an 80 current dynamometer, fuel consumption meter, and we can see actually this is the experimental setup. And so till now what the work we have done is we have tried to predict the start of combustion, and we tried 4 methods, and we found that this method is the best, that is from dP by d theta. And we compared different models, like we compared the Wolfer equation and all these equations, and here is a comparison of how the models have been predicting. And As a conclusion, we found that till now out of our work, the Hardenberg-Hayes equation, it is predicting well, but the problem is when there is an injection timing variation, it is not able to predict. And so our future work is to model the combustion and also to implement the models we develop into an ECU and test it in transient conditions. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Myself Saravanan and Srinivas Jilagara from Mahindra & Mahindra. Here we are demonstrating our hydrogen project, which has been developed under the sponsorship of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy and Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. The concept has been formalized 4 years back with the development of a new engine for our Indian requirements, which should be of a zero emission vehicle or ultra lean emission vehicles, and it should be providing a good mileage for the benefit of the Indian society of the people. Therefore, Mahindra as a hydrogen engine is one of the new engine development in Mahindra. There are a lot of learnings we have been taken up from our earlier projects with respect to the dual fuels or the single cylinder hydrogen engine developments has been taken over, and by those learnings we have been tied up with external third parties also in developing a full hydrogen engine and a full hydrogen vehicle development. Therefore, we will be here summarizing how the hydrogen engine has been developed over the past and what are the efforts has been made and the hydrogen vehicle developments. With these backgrounds and meeting the emission requirements to be considered, we have developed this hydrogen engine where we have optimized this engine for a higher compression ratio of 12:1, because that will be the need of the hour for delivering the power of the hydrogen engine. And we also optimized the several components with respect to the intake manifold, because it's a multi-cylinder engine, and also we have optimized with respect to the combustion. Therefore, the piston bowl has been modified, and with respect to the exhaust system like the turbocharger, which has to gather more power and all those things. Therefore, these are all the several components which has been developed along with the thermodynamic analysis by the CFD, which will be explained by Srinivas Rao.
Good afternoon. I will be explaining about the simulation activities what we have performed for this work. So we have prepared a one-dimensional thermodynamic model wherein we can model the internal combustion engine. So it has got the different elements like intake manifold, engine cylinders, air filter, intercooler and rest of all components. So what we basically did was we have used one VBA combustion model to model the combustion parameters, and during our simulation our important task was to finalize the compression ratio. So to finalize the compression ratio, we ran the simulation for different compression ratios, and our target was to keep the research octane number below 130. Since hydrogen research octane number is 130, we found that below at 12:1 compression ratio the octane number is below 130. So we have chosen 12:1 compression ratio for our application. And then the next important task is the selection of turbocharger for our application. Based on the simulation, we found out what is the required compression pressure ratio as well as the airflow rate. So using these data, we have shown them we have plotted them in a pressure measure map, and based on that we have selected the turbocharger. So coming to the experimental part, so what we did was we have a hydrogen gas which is stored at 200 bar, and it has been further reduced to 4.5 bar, and it has been sent to the engine. So the final conclusions is we have developed an engine which runs on hydrogen fuel, and a bus. This is the bus what we have developed for our application. Thank you.
Yeah, this work is done on XUV vehicle to meet Euro 5 and Euro 6 emission norms through the method of simulation as well as experimental base. So engine model is done in AVL, cruise and AVL boost model, and optimization of various parameters of EGR rate, after treatment system, combustion system, boost pressure, all these needs optimization. And hardware wise we have used the engine high dynamic test bed and chassis dynamometer to achieve the Euro 5 and Euro 6 level emission norms. And while optimizing the engine, we have to optimize the combustion chamber, EGR cooler, multi-hole nozzle and injection strategies to get the desired emissions from the engines. And In this work, XUV vehicle is upgraded from Euro 4 emission norms to Euro 5 emission norms in 2012, 13, 14, and now this vehicle is sold in Europe, Australia and various countries abroad. Thank you.
So my name is Saurabh Kumar Gupta. I am from LTC Group, IIT Madras. I am working with Dr. K. Anand. My topic is flexible low temperature combustion engine that we are developing for reduction of NOx and PM. So the current norms that Euro 6 has is more stringent towards the NOx and smoke. So the normal engines that we have, it has a problem with the NOx and smoke. NOx and soot, the diesel engine has a pretty problem with the PM formation because of a very high fire ratio, and because of the flame generation it has a very high NOx ratio also. So this is a conventional combustion model that we have from the DEX paper, and so the idea came from here that we will prepare a homogeneous charge, and after that we will combust it in compression ignition. So we mix both as good features of diesel engine as well as petrol engine, and by mixing that we have prepared this SCCI combustion. It is a pretty initial model that SCCI has. So because of the homogeneous charge, the flame is not there. So because of that, the NOx formation will not occur, and because of that sudden compression ignition, that NOx is not there, and because of the very lean fire ratio, it is also soot is not there. So this is the conventional PCCI and SCCI zones. These are all the modes that we can use. The engine that we have proposed is this. We can operate all the strategies on this single engine. This is the operability limit and challenges requirements of that. This is a few feature works that we are proposing that will work on various fuels, that because the diesel and petrol both are not suitable for these kind of ignition. So we will operate with trying to see what kind of fuels we can use.
In this experimental, we use biogas and diesel. Biogas is injected along with intake air, and diesel is directly injected. In this experimental work, we study the effect of diesel pulse in single pulse and as double pulse, and we compare the result in the single pulse dual fuel mode. In dual fuel mode, the injection timing is very close to TDC, whereas in the SCCI mode, the injection timing is like 80 degree before TDC, 50 degree, and the second pulse around 50 to 40 degree before TDC. So the effect is that with injection timing, we can see how a combustion phasing as shown here. When the start of injection of second pulse is 40 degree, you can see the combustion phasing is advanced, whereas when the start of injection of second pulse is retarded, there is a combustion phasing towards TDC that leads to improved thermal efficiency. Similar case we can see at the higher energy shares also. Here is the comparison of single pulse and double pulse, that you can see at low energy share there is a clear combustion phasing towards TDC with a double pulse that leads to improved thermal efficiency. And also understand that the duration of the second pulse has to be kept to 300 microseconds, that is the lowest possible. Higher amount of the second pulse quantity will leads to knocking combustion. And going to the higher energy share, you can see there is only slight improvement in thermal efficiency. And if you see the brake thermal efficiency, you can see with the double injection there is a high improved thermal efficiency at high energy share compared to dual fuel. NOx emission is very low compared to dual fuel. With a single pulse it is almost same, and with there is high hydrocarbon emission in the case of dual fuel compared to HCCI, and smoke emission is reduced in the two pulse case.
This is a work on in-cylinder flow studies in a two-stroke engine. Basically the in-cylinder flow structure is very important to understand, because this affects the fuel air mixing and combustion in a two-stroke engine. This work is done to convert a regular SI engine which is operated on a carburetor into a GDI engine. For that the flow, to understand the flow structure is very important. So initially what we have done is we have regular two-stroke engine. The liner of the two-stroke engine is chopped off horizontally and it is placed with an optical liner, so that we can get optical access into the engine, and then PIV studies are conducted on the engine to get an understanding of how the flow is happening inside the engine. Side by side some CFD studies are also carried on the engine, to validate the CFD studies, we have used the ANTES experimental results, which are compared with the CFD results, and we see that there is a good match between experiment and CFD at different engine speeds. And also we have studied the turbulent kinetic energy model, which is the turbulence model which is used in the CFD is compared with experimental results. We found that RNG K-epsilon model is actually giving a very good match with the experimental results. So we have proceeded with using RNG K-epsilon model. Here we can see the structure of flow at various speeds and at various crank angles. We see that there is a strong tumbling motion inside the engine. This is very important for better fuel air mixing. So from this we can get some conclusions on where to place the injector and how the fuel air mixing is happening. So this show the turbulent kinetic energy, tumble ratio and swirl ratio plots for different engine speeds, compression ratios, area ratio and booster port orientation. We see that with engine speed it is the TK is increasing, TR is increasing. So and a little study on swirl ratio is also included. Thank you.
The premise charge compression ignition engine is the very best suitable for the operating this in comparison with the CI engine as well as the SI engine. The PCCI mode of combustion generally involves the use of external mixture formation technique using the diesel vaporizer, fuel injection timing circuit and EGR. The compression ratio of the engine is reduced from to 15.5 from 17.5 to avoid the knocking tendency and the auto ignition. Problem of the auto ignition and the peak cylinder pressure and temperature will be controlled by the use of EGR. The twin cylinder engine is used for the modifications. One of the cylinder is modified to the run on the PCCI mode, while other cylinder is operated on the run on the conventional CI mode. Just like SI mode of operation, PCCI mode of operation form nearly homogeneous charge but operates like a CI engine, therefore gives the better thermal efficiency but a reduction in the emissions. This is the experimental setup of the PCCI engine. It clearly shows the two-cylinder engine. One cylinder is modified to run on the PCCI engine, while this another cylinder runs on the conventional CI mode. This is the diesel vaporizer. This is the exhaust gas recirculation system. The graph shows there is a quite reduction in the brake thermal efficiency, but emission reductions are very good in comparison to the CI engine. So PCCI is the promising mode for achieving low emissions at the part load operation only, because we cannot use it in the full load condition. There are found reduction in the brake thermal efficiency for the PCCI mode, but emissions can found very well reduced.
Hi, my name is Dheeraj and I'm from Purdue University. My poster is on improving the efficiency of a diesel engine using variable valve actuation. So as is the case of diesel engine research, the main aim is to improve fuel economy and to reduce emissions. For this, a lot of different technologies are being evaluated, and one of them is called variable valve actuation, or VVA. So in Herrick Labs at Purdue University, we have got a Cummins ISB 6.7 liter engine where we have basically changed the configuration of the camshafts. We have removed all the camshafts and the valve train and replaced it with individual electro-hydraulic actuators that give independent cylinder-to-cylinder control. Because of this, we are able to actuate every single cylinder independently and modify the profiles, valve profiles as we need. So two technologies I'm going to talk about is cylinder deactivation and rebreathing and reverse breathing. In cylinder deactivation, what we do is cut 3 cylinders, which mean out of 6, which means that you are basically consuming much lesser air than you actually need at lower loads. Since you are pumping in lesser air, you are improving your pumping efficiency and also you are improving the after treatment temperature. Similarly, for re and reverse breathing, we take intake from the exhaust manifold and push it out back into the exhaust manifold. Doing this improves the temperature of the exhaust gas and thus makes the after treatment efficiency better. Thank you.
So, hi friends, I am Anil. I am working under Dr. Raja Banerjee from Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering from IIT Hyderabad. So, I am working under performance and emission and a combustion characteristics of alternative fuels in the CI engine. The diesel engines are invented long back before, but and the research is still going on in the alternative fuels in the CI engine. So, to contribute to that one, I am working in the green diesel. So it's a new fuel, a second generation biofuel, which we can work under hydrodeoxygenation process to extract, and we have a reactor in our colleges. So one PhD person is working on the chemical department. He is working on the dehydrogenation process, which is in the chemical department. So basically we have the setup as IC engine laboratory in IIT Hyderabad. We have optical engine setup. We have spray chamber. We will analyze first we'll characterize the fuel, our green diesel with the calorific value, kinematic viscosity, over 1 cloud point surface tension, and the gas chromatography and the CHNSO test. Then we'll go into the engine, the real base directly onto the engine. We'll insert it. We'll test it on the different injection pressure and the variation of start of injection. We'll analyze simultaneously with the NOx or We'll analyze the NOx and the constant, and then we'll move into the spray chamber, where we'll actually analyze the liquid penetration and the vapor penetration length. So this is our criteria. I am showing the results, which is a test case result from the Sandia lab to validate our experimental setup.
Hello, I am Ravi Teja from the IC Engines lab at IIT Madras. Today I am going to present you with my work, which I have been doing so far. The work is basically preparing a database of various engines present commercially available in various parts of the world. We have created a database which looks similar to this. What we have done is we have collected engine data according to the year, and there are various specifications like the engine power, weight, and various techniques they have used like the PFI or GDI, etc. And what we have done is try to analyze how each of this parameter affects the specific power of the engine, that is the power to weight ratio of the engine. So during our analysis, we have seen that the trend of the specific power increase over the years has been similar to this graph, and with various techniques that we have adopted, we have seen that a 2-valve engine versus a 4-valve engine is as per this graph. A turbocharging versus a naturally aspirated engine looks something like this, and a carbureted engine versus GDI has something like this. And we have made an estimate of what is the percentage increase of the specific power, and we have found that using a turbocharger enhances the specific power by almost 100%. And in a general way, we have seen for various other strategies as in the poster, and also like we have seen how the combination of various techniques can also enhance this one. Using this information, we want to design an engine which can be downsized further. Thank you.
Hello, this is Feroz Khan from VIT University. My poster topic is single zone model of a biogas fueled HEC engine. The main objective of this work is to find operating cycle for biogas fueled HEC engine, and also to find indicated thermal efficiency, a different equivalence ratio, methane fraction, compression ratio. Here methane fraction is nothing but we know in biogas it consists of methane and carbon dioxide. Generally in raw biogas, if you see raw biogas, it consists of 55% methane and the remaining carbon dioxide. So here I have taken 50% methane to 100% methane, that is a pure methane. Here 50% mean that is a raw biogas. In the methodology, I have taken energy balance and equation of state are used to determine the thermodynamic state at each crank angle in the operating cycle, and these are my result. In the result you can see I have compared with air standard PV diagram with variable composition, that is biogas fueled HEC engine, and also here you can see indicated thermal efficiency versus equivalence ratio. Generally at lean mixture it is showing the high efficiency comparing to the maximum equivalence ratio, and in advanced level I have to add chemical kinetics also. Thank you.
Basically we are working on a mixture formation in CI engine, as presently we are knowing that the problem with the present existing CI engine is the formation of NOx and soot and the high load operation limitation. So the mode is from HCCI in which there is a difficulty with the of the load extension along with the heat releases and pressure rise rate and combustion phasing while extending the load. So there is need to operate that HCCI engine within a dual fuel, and for improving the heat release rate and for controlling the heat release rate, and it may be achieved by dual fuel by controlling the fuel reactivity. Basically we are focusing towards the spray formation using the high pressure injection and boosted air along with the dual fuel, such that we can improve the mixture formation which will be resulting into the improved combustion and the reduced emission.
Okay, hello, my name is Sishan, and I'm from University of Southern California, and this is my project for the flame propagation through the narrow channels. And for this project, we're using the Healy shell cell to study the laminar flame instabilities through narrow channels. The cell is the channel width is about a ½ inch, and we are majorly burning hydrogen with oxygen mixtures, and then using the nitrogen as a dilutant. We also do the same experiments with propane, and so here we're majorly studying 4 different types of instabilities. First is the thermal expansion instabilities, and then also the buoyancy effect on the flames, and then as well as the viscosity effect, and then also the Lewis number effect, which is diffusivity, and then the mass diffusivity and thermal diffusivity effect on the flame. And our results are quite interesting. Here's a couple pictures showing different flame structures of the hydrogen and the oxygen mixtures. So as the low Lewis number, you can see the finger structure wrinkling, and then the cell structures. And then also with the downward part, we can study the flame with 3 different orientation. This is for horizontal orientation to minimize the buoyancy effect, and then also we can study it in the downward orientation. So the buoyancy effect is actually trying to stabilize the flame. As you can see, the flame's front is quite flat, and then also we can study in the upward propagation so the buoyancy effect was instabilize the flame front, and then for the result is quite many. So this is for hydrogen, and then this is for propane, and you can see and then this is we're using the GS growth parameter from this reference, the Drillin and then Shivashinsky paper. They're calculated. They're including the first 3 instability for the flame, and then we're adding a Lewis number effect on top of that.
Good afternoon everyone, I am Dinesh. I am doing my PhD from IIT Kanpur. Today I would like to tell you about active and passive control of heating in gas turbine combustors. From past few decades we have seen that combustion research has been taken a few considerations, and there is very much less research on combustion noise. So the combustion noise has been broadly classified into 2 different categories: direct and indirect combustion noise. In this poster presentation I would like to focus on direct combustion noise. And we can clearly see from this plot, combustion noise has been the 3rd most dominant phenomena, considering just noise after jet noise and fan noise. So in this present investigation, I have developed various methods for reducing of combustion noise. Those are changing the spillers, changing the atomizing to air fuel liquid fuel ratio, by modulating fuel, by modulating the atomizing air, by addition of secondary fuel inside the combustion chamber. So similarly, this is my schematic of my experimental setup. So for understanding this view, we have designed a combustion chamber similar to a gas turbine combustor, considering all the parameters similar to that of gas turbine combustor. And the combustion chamber behaves like a Helmholtz resonator. This is a fluent diagram. Combustion noise is a broadband phenomena, so we have developed octave band analysis, and this one is the time series analysis for control and hooting, and this one is also for hooting and control, and this one is a broadband phenomena. So this one is a pressure fluctuations which occur, and by controlling itself we are able to increase the temperature, so we are able to increase the combustion efficiency and decrease the thermal efficiency.
Hi, I am Subrat from CGPL IAC. CGPL mainly deals with combustion, gasification and propulsion applications, and major our research goes on in gasifications. There are many gasification techniques, air-based gasification, oxy and oxy-steam gasifications, which works for improving the hydrogen content of the fuel. So, but here is the application deals with considering this syngas for power production in a IC engine. The syngas is typically a mixture of hydrogen, carbon dioxide and CH4, CO2 and nitrogen. The motivation for this work is the conventional turbochargers available in the IC engines are suitable for petrol or diesel. For syngas applications, we need to build a test bench to characterize the turbochargers. So here is the motivation is to use the syngas from our gasifiers and build a steady flow turbine to simulate the IC engine exhaust. So the main goals here is to find the exhaust condition of IC engine, typically from 600 to 700 Kelvin, and pressure range within 0.3 to 0.5 bar, and the temperature constant of the for a stainless steel turbine combustor of 700 Kelvin. So for this we have designed a combustor with primary and secondary air inlets and a plate for stabilizing the flame. It's not a stabilizer but a stagnation, for creating stagnation zones. So we have this study is for geometrical optimization and knowing the flow field before building the test cases for experiments. So this is a geometrical optimization study considering various lengths of the combustor and geometrical inlets to get the desired output. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Satish. I'm going to present you about our current work on numerical study of lean direct injection combustion instabilities. So lean direct injection or LDI is one of the concepts to reduce the NOx emissions for gas turbine applications. So we have so the lean direct LDI concept was developed as an alternate for LPB combustion concept. Where in LPB combustion we have some problems like flashback and auto ignitions, which is limiting their applications in aircraft engines. So LDI concept, the fuel is directly injected to the combustion zone where it mixes with the air, and the air enters to combustion zone through swillers. So the swilling flow enhances the mixing and rapid evaporation of the liquid fuel. So there are many geometrical parameters which are important for rapid evaporation and mixing of the fuel. So our objective is to study the influence of these parameters like vane angles, and then in case of single element LDI, and different configurations of multi-element different swirler configurations like co-swirling and counter-swirling configurations and recessed center swirler. So to find out those geometrical parameters influence on the combustion instabilities is our objective of this topic. So what we are trying to do currently is we have started very recently this work, and then currently we are just simulating the cold flow studies on single element and multi-element configurations. Right now we are very preliminary stage of our analysis. Currently we have got some results and comparison with the experimental results. So in future we are going to study with LAS and also study the spray and different configurations of these varying geometries.
Hello, I am Malar. I am working in Combustion Research Laboratory at Department of Aerospace Engineering, IIT Bombay. So the title seems like I am studying the instabilities of flame propagation in small scale channels, and in this study I am currently working on a backward three-step combustion. So if we go in the background, like as we know, there is miniaturization of almost all the equipments today, so as to get maximum efficiency and like to optimize the process. So same case lies with the combustion process, and so the combustors today are now getting miniaturized. So the advantages associated with small scale combustors are like high heat and mass transfer coefficients. So along with this high heat and mass transfer comes a disadvantage, which is heat loss. So the crucial point in maintaining or getting a stable flame in small scale combustors is the heat recirculation. So I am studying this configuration in which you see a backward three-step combustor along with a heat recirculating cup. Now the instabilities which we have seen are thermodiffusive instabilities, and these are if you see, this is the time cycle variation of how the flame propagates inside the channels. On that we have drawn the regime diagrams of how the instabilities vary with phi and velocity, and in future we will be studying this instabilities with chemiluminescence facility and also analytical facility. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Kiran Manoharan, and my research group works on the role of aerodynamic instability in gas turbine combustors, and these are my colleagues Srinivas Kirti and my supervisor Santosh Hemchandra. Basically, the poster is about combustion instabilities, to characterize combustion instability as the role of hydrodynamic instability in combustion instability. So there are two mechanisms by which combustion instability can happen. One is a semi-open loop fashion, which I would explain why it's called a semi-open loop fashion, and a closed loop fashion. So in a semi-open loop fashion, what happens is the underlying hydrodynamic mode itself is unstable, which causes flow oscillation, and in turn results in heat release fluctuations, causing acoustic velocity oscillation. Because it's self-excited, the hydrodynamic mode is temporarily unstable. It becomes self-excited. So any acoustic velocity oscillation, any acoustic oscillation with frequency far away from the oscillation of the hydrodynamic mode won't cause this feedback loop to close. So what in a closed loop fashion, your inherent hydrodynamic stable mode can be perturbed by acoustic oscillation, which can cause flow velocity oscillations, and which can again interact with the heat release oscillation and results in a closed loop mechanism which causes combustion instability. So we are basically looking at two mechanisms, which is two configurations, which is a backward facing step combustor and a swirl flow combustor. The backflow so basically what you need for a hydrodynamic instability mechanism is a time average velocity field as an input. So we got the velocity from Gonims group from MIT, which gives a velocity field at this location. And what they have done is to measure, is to keep the inflow velocity constant and vary the fuel flow rate, so that they have varied equivalence ratio, and they have seen three modes of operation, which is shown here. It's mode 1 and mode 2 and mode 3. Mode 1 is thermoacoustically stable, mode 2 is thermoacoustically unstable, and mode 3 was also thermoacoustically unstable. But so what we have done in this work is to quantify why this mode 2 and mode 3 are happening, because we are validating a hypothesis that this is mainly caused due to a mechanism.
So in case of aviation as well as power generation combustors, with a stringent increase in the emission norms, we need to model NOx or emissions at an early stage of design. Now with the main objective here is to help the designer to perform trade studies at the early phase of design. Now what I'm going to talk through is the laminar flamelet based NOx emission prediction for gas turbine combustors. So generally the time scales for NOx formation is slower compared to the hydrocarbon oxidation reactions, that is the combustion reaction basically. So taking advantage of this, what we've done is we have done NOx prediction as a post-processing mode. So what is done here is there are two mechanisms with which the NOx is formed. The prompt mechanism, that is the flame front; the thermal NOx, that is the Zeldovich mechanism. Now the flame front NOx is taken from the flame front, the PDF based approach, and then the post NOx is solved for. We validated this approach on the Sandia D flame, and we correlated well with the data. We extended this model to a combustor model. We saw that what the results, the combustor model we have from the data correlates well with the model. Based on that, here we have the engine data, which correlates well with data predicted from this data predicted, and the CFD predicted correlates well with 11% error. Thank you. So this is a gas turbine combustor, a lean premixed gas turbine combustor. The basic idea for the lean premixed combustor is to get lower NOx emission due to lower temperature in the gas turbine. So the problem here is I'm working in the region of static instability condition, which means the precursor blowout condition. Yeah. So the blowout condition is at the 6 meter per second of the average velocity in here, where I can see local extinction of the flame and then a reignition of the flame again. So my goal is to characterize this event. So that is my main objective. So I'm going to use simultaneous stereographic PIV as well as chemiluminescence imaging, CSR imaging simultaneously, so that I can get stereoscopic, I can get velocity field on top of that overlaid flame imaging. So with that better understanding precursor event, I can better control this precursor, the local extinction and the reignition event. So that is my objective. This project is funded by National Combustion Center, IIT Madras, and these are some bibliographies that I have. This work is still under process, still under progress. So this is just a basic review of my work. Yeah.
I'm Manikandan from RIC DRDO. Here we are doing a project on combustion instability in afterburners. The primary objective is to study the transverse combustion instability in afterburner. So we are doing this in two ways, both in experimental and numerical side. The idea is to simulate screech experimentally, perform detailed diagnostics and study the mechanism that causes the phenomenon, and compute droplet and spray dynamics and combustion response, capture the phenomenon using CFD. The professors involved from IITM are Professor Sujit, Professor Chakravarti and Professor Mahesh. From DRDO, I am involved in this project, and Dr. V. Ramanujachari, Dr. N. Muthuvirappan from GTRE is involved. So we have fabricated the experimental setup here. This simulates the flow conditions of afterburner and to some extent the geometry of the afterburner. Here the combustion instability will be simulated, and the response of the flame to the acoustic oscillation will be studied. There is an optical access to the flame where the high speed imaging, PIV, LDV and PDPA measurements will be carried out when combustion instability occurs. Then there is a spray solver which is developed, where the spray solver is solved in Eulerian mode. The spray is divided into different drop sizes and then calculated. There is a simplified screech experiment where the spray solver will be validated against this. Then the solver will be plugged into the computational numerical scheme. After the CFD is done in with the LES, and the results from the CFD will be validated against the full scale experiment. So idea is to study the combustion. Idea is to study the phenomenon causing screech in afterburners.
I am Jitin EV, doing PhD in Amrita University under the guidance of Dr. V. Ratnakishore. The work which I am presenting here was performed along with my friend Aravind B, who is currently doing his research in IIT Bombay. In this work, we were trying to numerically compare the effect of the whole geometry, like inline and staggered arrangement of perforated plate burner by using a three-dimensional perforated plate burner model. A reduced reaction mechanism having 27 species and 159 reactions were used for the present study. In this case, we were doing simulations in various equivalence ratios and inlet velocity conditions for performing the comparison. Then from the heat of reaction and heat flux contours, we could identify that the flame standoff distance is varying significantly in both the cases. That is, as far as when comparing with the inline and staggered arrangement, in the case of inline arrangement, there is a significant height variation in lift-off. That is, in the case of inline arrangement, we are getting a higher lift-off compared to staggered arrangement as a result of the strong recirculation formed in between the plate top surface and the flame in the case of inline arrangement. But in the case of staggered arrangement, the recirculation zone was not so strong, as a result of which the lift-off was little smaller in the case of staggered arrangement. Okay, thank you.
I'm MSc Chandramurthy from DRDL Hyderabad. I'll be explaining about numerical exploration of dual mode ramjet. The same engine works as both ramjet and scramjet, as is shown here. Ramjet 2 to Mach 5 and scramjet Mach 5 to 20 in hydrogen regime. So the key concept here is careful tailoring of heat release in the combustor so that we make a thermal choking and makes as a ramjet, and in high speed flows the throat will be disappear and acts as a ramjet. The key issues in this dual mode ramjet concept is the transition triggering from ramjet to scramjet, wall heat transfer, active fuel activation. Several people have tested on ground and flight in this particular engine, like DLR has done a lot of experiments recently, which is called high shot 2 configuration. Here the flow is damp flow number is about 100. It's a mixing dominated flow, and combustor length will be around 300 mm, and these are the features of the combustor. So what important observation they made about this engine is equivalence ratio between 0.38 to 339 thermal choking is formed, and beyond that is sustained normal shock appearing and standing at one location for each equivalence ratio, the key concept. And this experiment has been numerically simulated. Wall model LS detached with this simulation with 50 million cells and 1/8 portion of the combustor. This is a comparison between wall pressures and heat flux, and temperature is shown here is a good match between experimental and theoretical work. And this is under, I've been doing this problem as part of my PhD with Indian Institute of Sciences, Bangalore. Thank you.
Good morning to all. I am S. Ganesan from RIC Chennai IIT Madras Research Park. My talk will be on this combustion instability studies in solid rocket motor. Actually, all these studies are completely experimental work. In one of our rocket motor, we are having a huge pressure oscillations. If you see these numbers, it is something like 120 bar to 200 bar, something like 80 bar pressure oscillations are happening inside the rocket motor. We want to, why this is happening, we wanted to study, and the second task is develop new material, new propellant. Why this is happening can be done by measuring the combustion response measurement. We have different techniques like T-burner, ultrasound technique, impedance tube, pulsed BEM and rotary valve BEM and LDV technique. Each techniques are different in their own peculiarity. Like each technique is good at certain frequency ranges. In T-burner, what we do is you keep two solid propellant blocks at either end of this T. It is looking like a T, that's why it is called T-burner. And measure the pressure oscillations measured. One of the T-burner pressure measurement is shown here. And then like that, similarly we can do it for impedance tube. In ultrasound, we measure we send ultrasound signal through the propellant, and like this. And the other technique is that developing a new propellant. We are having developing a new propellant like play to burning propellant can be done for a certain pressure range. We are getting a play to kind of behavior. So we have achieved all these test techniques have been developed, and we are looking to widen this play to burning behavior. Thank you.
Hello everyone, myself Tausif Sheikh from IIT Bombay. I am working under Professor Arindriji Chaudhary, and I am working on a liquid rocket engine, experimental and numerical characterization of a liquid rocket engine. We have developed a small liquid rocket engine of 10 kg thrust capacity, and it's supposed to give 10 kg at 20 bar chamber pressure. And we are using solid cone spray injector for the fuel atomization, and we are using gasoline as a fuel and gaseous oxygen as an oxidizer. So we have developed this setup. This is a schematic, purge line, fuel line and oxygen line. So our basic aim to study different fuels, different high energy, high density fuels and its performance using liquid rocket engine. So we have this compound diazido dimethyl bishomocubane. So this is a cube structure of a carbon atoms having two methyl groups and two azide groups attached to it. It is having twice burn rate as compared to RP1 and density specific impulse 100 second greater than RP1. So it is very useful in densities in volume limited applications. So these are some readings with gasoline and gaseous oxygen as an propellants, and these are pressure traces and flow rate traces, and this is a ISP efficiency and C star efficiency as a function of equivalence ratio. For initial test runs, we have gone up to 8 bar, so the output we are getting are quite reasonable. And we have developed another setup for understanding the basic of combustion in laminar diffusion flame. So using FTR spectrometer, we are studying the laminar flame. So this is a stepper motor to traverse the flame vertically and horizontally, and this is the transmission spectra from which we will back calculate the species concentration and temperature using Hytran database. So this is quite a bit, and as we synthesize the this compound, will proceed with performance study of this compound. Thank you.
Myself, Kali Prasad from Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota, ISRO. So this is the work we are doing along with Professor Chakravarti of Department of Aerospace Engineering, IIT Madras. We are initiating the engine large segmented solid rocket motors, typically because of the vortex shedding happening inside the motor's geometry. So the large solid rocket motors with segmented geometry have the inhibitors at the segment interfaces, which obstruct the port flow and create vortices at the or sort of develop a shear layer at the segment interface. These vortices roll up downstream and impinge with the nozzle, causing flow acoustic coupling inside a solid rocket motor. So a lot of research has been done with the case of this inhibitor being a rigid one, but there have been no literature on the inhibitors being flexible. So this inhibitors being material which prevent unburning of solid rocket motors do not burn, and after a certain time they protrude into the flow field. So we try to scale up the entire setup with a 1:25 scale using cold flow, where we are acoustically maintaining close boundary condition with the inhibitor sitting at the acoustic velocity antinode. Here you can see the both first and second acoustic modes of the scaled model, and this is a typical pressure response when the flow acoustic coupling is happening. This is a pretty narrow band spectrum we can see both at the first acoustic mode and second acoustic mode. Now once the inhibitor is now flexible, we are seeing for the thickness to height ratio, that is the thickness of the inhibitor to the height of the inhibitor, which is depicted, thickness to the height ratio, which is very small. We are having a flow acoustic coupling which exceeding the rigid case. So on the contrary, when we have a thickness ratio increasing across, we are seeing that the oscillation amplitude is decreasing. But you see at the second acoustic mode, as the thickness increases, as the thickness height ratio increases, we are seeing a better coupling happening here. So as a case of investigation for the first acoustic mode, what exactly happens? We have tried to do a same thickness ratio for inhibitor with higher specific modulus, and I have seen that when the structural mode of inhibitor matches with the Ruck mode, we see enhanced oscillation. Again, this is all work in progress. We are trying to understand what exactly is causing the three-way interaction between the flow, acoustics and structure coupling, and this is it. Thanks.
Hi, I am Vishnu Pia. My topic of presentation is effect of aging on solid composite propellants. The aging effect of causes and effect of aging actually, when solid propellants have been casted and should possess a shelf life of over more than 15 years. So the effect of aging is a significant property to should be looked for. So in order to make the propellant age, what we use is an accelerated aging technique. That is, we will be the samples will be kept in an oven which is programmable one, which causes the day-to-day temperature cycle variations in the propellant. And there are different compositions we are like actually simultaneously looking for. One composition I have been given here, and the properties variation how we find is using a Crawford bomb setup. Crawford bomb setup is a pressure chamber which is having a pressure transducer which gives the burn time of the propellant, and from the burn time and the non-length we will get the burn rate and the other properties also. So the studies have been done using different compositions and found out with the aging period of up to 6 years the burn rate has not shown any marginal variations, and after that it shows gradual variations. You can see as the pressure increases also the variations also keep increasing, and other properties like pressure index also shows variation with the, this is a 9-year-old aging sample and this is the normal sample, and other properties to look for is like initial temperature sensitivity and agglomeration properties and also. So the conclusions are like that studies need to be put forward for another the causes which causes this aging effect, like effect of decomposition, HTPB, shelf, the phase change of AP, such like that. These are my brief legacy.
Hello all, myself Shiva Prasad Arava. and I am here to give a poster presentation on cleaning of contaminated porous media by combustion, and this is also my master's thesis. So about the introduction, this is about the oil spills. Oil spills happens on onshore, offshore, oceans, and cleaning this oil spills is really a painstaking process, and I'm mainly concentrating on the oil spills on sand beds. So the main objective is to prepare a burner where it will be burning the oil, and we'll be able to collect back the water and sand. So the main idea here is we'll be using the heat rods. These rods are the conductive heat rods, where this will collect all the radiative and convective heat and supply those to the sand bed, and as the sand bed gets heated up, this will enhance the burning rate. In this, for the more realistic conditions, we are using the for the more realistic conditions, we are using 6% of emulsion, 12% of emulsion, and 18% of emulsions, which are mixed with sand. So these emulsions are the worst case scenarios, where we will be using 60% of water and 40% of the oil. And after performing the experiments, we performed experiments for the sand and also for the with perforations. We found that with perforations, there was significant increase in the mass loss rate compared with the other baseline tests. So, and also it doubled compared with the baseline test. The mass loss rate doubled. As we are using N-heptane as the initiator to ignite the fuel, so we are not able to find how much of N-heptane is found. Further, we are performing experiments cone calorimeter, where we will be finding the minimum temperature, heat flux to ignite this, and from the soot particles we will be able to find the difference between N-heptane and the amount of crude oil burned. Thank you.
Hi. Here the objective is to develop a stable combustor for micro gas turbine engine. So the objective is to develop such a way that it should have good current factor and good combustion efficiency, and we should not see any hotspots on the combustor liner wall, and with minimum pressure loss. So these are the major requirements. And then we started with empirical calculation, and using only code, we developed the reversible annual combustor for the given conditions within the specified layout. And then we used CFD to study on the 3D analysis, 3D simulation using Fluent. So we did the baseline design, and we built a prototype based on the baseline design, and then we tested it in our lab. So this is the full engine setup, and this is our combustor. So from the baseline results, experimental results, we found some hotspots on the liner. So the temperature was slightly exceeding the limit, and also the efficiency was slightly less. So we went back to the CFD, we modified the baseline simulation, and then we built the prototype and we tested again in our lab. So from the modified design, we are able to achieve good current factor, and also we didn't see any hotspots on the liner wall. This is the comparison of temperature between baseline design and the modified design. You can see more hotspots on the liner wall of the combustor, and in the modified design it's perfectly fine actually. So we didn't find any hotspots on the wall. So this is the experimental results. So with the baseline design, it almost reached the max temperature, so we had to cut off the fuel supply and we had to stop the engine. So but with the modified design, the temperature achieved is well within the limits. So our next step is to study the emission, and also to have the improved combustion efficiency. Yeah. Thanks.
I am Lakshmi DM. I am from Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, Trivandrum. I have done this work with the guidance of Professor S.R. Chakravarti, IIT Madras. And here mainly the variation of solid propellant properties with respect to the AP morphological parameters, and which in turn will be affected by the process parameters of AP. So AP is made by recrystallization by changing the cooling parameters and agitator RPM, and finally spherical shape AP is prepared by 600 RPM and slow cooling pattern. And similarly, AP made in presence of surfactant was found to be porous AP, and it yields different properties such as burning rate and mechanical properties of the propellant. And we have seen that viscosity and properties as such is varying with respect to the type of AP and AP morphological parameters. So here the main point is compact propellant with reduction in modulus and percentage elongation is made with spherical AP, that is with 600 RPM slow cooling pattern, and when the propellant is made, and propellant here burning rate is analyzed by acoustic emission strand burner, and similarly the quench bomb setup is used for depressurizing the propellant for seeing the quench surface. And here we can see this is a comparison of quench surface of spherical AP and porous AP, and we can see the difference as such, and this helps in improving the processability of AP.
Hi, this is Rajini Kumar Akula from GE Power. I am presenting here evaluating fuel flexibility in IGCC combustor using CFD. The main challenge for IGCC combustors is fuel flexibility and environmental performance for a wide range of syngas fuel composition. For such a wide range of syngas fuel composition, it's very difficult to do experiments. So what we do is basically we go through the numerical approach to evaluate all the wide syngas range. In this work, what we have considered is the IGCC combustor, which is like a diffusion combustor basically, and we evaluated different fuel compositions by varying the H2CO proportion. Two models we have considered from the flue end. One is laminar finite chemistry, and another one is flamelet model. But flamelet model not able to capture the proper stabilization zone. Because of that, we are getting a very lean temperatures at the close to the head end of the combustor, whereas the finite rate chemistry are able to capture that stabilization and provide the sufficient temperature, which are we are observing in the experiments also. These are the results for various H2CO ratio, and also we have evaluated NOx, and NOx is also within the range we are able to capture across the wide range of fuel composition. So the basic outcome of this work is that for this type of combustors and fuel configurations, with finite rate chemistry we are able to get very good wall temperatures and emissions predictions compared to the flamelet model. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Obleshi Chatakunda. I work for Global Research Center, General Electric. The one what I am presenting here today is the modeling of the dual fuel combustion using CFD. And dual fuel, let me tell you the importance of dual fuel. In the dual fuel gives a low emissions, at the same time replacing the diesel with natural gas giving a lot of cost advantage. So by replacing the diesel engine to dual fuel combustion, there is a lot of complication because the dual fuel system is very sensitive, and then the same system has to work for the 100% diesel, at the same time a low diesel quantities. When you go for the low diesel quantities, you get a lot of variation in the diesel injection quantities. So it gives a lot of implication in terms of the cycle to cycle variation and low performance, low specific fuel consumption. And then we work thoroughly to check that what is the quantities which has the variation in the in-cylinder pressures, in-cylinder mean effective pressures. So we observed a different experimental setup, and one is we checked first the diesel, 100% diesel scenario. It has a very less cycle to cycle variation. When we increased the amount of the natural gas, we started observing the variation in the in-cylinder pressures or mean effective pressures. At higher injection pressures, at higher injection quantities such as 33% of natural gas and 7% of diesel, we observed a lot of variation in the in-cylinder power. So when we look back and we found that the system is very sensitive for the diesel quantities, at the same time wall temperatures. And a small variation in the temperatures and diesel quantities, we have seen a wide variety of the in-cylinder powers. So with that we observed that what is the best operating regimes to work the system efficiently and lower SFC.
My name is Nasser from Department of Engineering Design, IIT Madras. I am working on real-time monitoring of dynastraction using coherent anti-Stokes Raman spectroscopy. So steam dynastraction is used to quantify the amount of water in steam, and has effect on total amount of transferable energy within steam. There are two methods for dynastraction measurement. One is sample-based measurement, other one is online-based measurement. So sample-based measurements include separating calorimeter and floating calorimeter. It requires more response time. So this results in missing of transient data. So in online measurements, the response time is very less, so that there won't be any missing of transient data. And this is a setup for cars, and for car signal generation we need 3 inputs. One is pump signal, then probe signal and stocks, and these 3 inputs are generated using a NDI laser. So the output of NDI laser is put into those parts. So this portion will generate stock signal. So the laser will impact signal will impact steam, and at the output there will be stocks and anti-stocks. So we have to eliminate anti-stock signal. For that we use a filter, and the output of filter and along with pump and probe signal will interact with the probe volume and will generate anti-stock signal. So the in-stock anti-stock signal can be used to measure concentration. So we did some preliminary work based on absorption spectroscopy, but these measurements are affected by scattering effects. For example, in case of biogas measurements, there is a difference between adjacent spectra. There is a gap between adjacent spectra because of scattering effect, and this is set up for dynastraction using absorption spectroscopy. And here also there is a lot of noise because of scattering effects. So we are going for cars-based method.
I am Sujit Kumar R, presenting the combustion studies carried out by us using a cell coaxial injector. In this study, we have found out the relative performance evaluation of 2 cell coaxial injector configuration, both with the liquid side tangential cell and one with the fuel side cell through mechanical vanes. Realized for performance evaluation study, we used a pressure fed facility simulating the entry conditions for both of the injectors. We used a PLC based control system for sequence control and a pyrogen ignition system for igniting the mixture. We have seen that the configuration with the both side cell, the fuel as well as the lock side cell, is giving the better stability, even though the first one with the lock side cell alone is showing some instability, low frequency instability signature. Subsequently, we have studied the combustion efficiency, and we have seen that the both side cell is giving the combustion efficiency also maximum nearly about 98%. Subsequently, we have seen the recessing effect of the injector and its performance. We have seen that we studied the recessing from 0.5 mm, 1 mm, 1.6 mm and 1.8 mm. We have seen that the one with the 1.8 mm recessing is giving better stable thing. It's not a smooth and curve directly. The raw data measured, you can see that it's very stable. So this is the study we have carried out.
Hi, I am Robin John from IIT Bombay. I am a PhD student working under Dr. Sudarshan Kumar. My poster presentation is based on the measurement of laminar burning velocities of multi-component mixtures at elevated temperatures. Laminar burning velocity is the relative velocity with which unburned gas moves in the flame front. This property of the mixture is very important in combustion community. It is unavoidable to understand the syngas combustion characteristics. The experimental setup is shown in the figure. The essence main part of the experimental setup are the channel and the burner, which is shown here. The burner is used to heat the channel. This helps in stabilizing the flame and also giving a positive temperature gradient. It also helps in reducing the heat loss of the flame. These two images show the flame stabilized inside the diverging channel, and the flame area is calculated from these images, and the laminar burning velocity is calculated using mass conservation. These two graphs show the variation of laminar burning velocity with different temperatures, and the power law is fitted as shown here. This SU equal to SU naught into TU by TU naught raised to alpha, and this will give the laminar burning velocities at different equivalence ratios. The measurements were carried out using different velocities and equivalence ratios, and these measurements were done for DME air mixtures, and this graph shows the equivalence ratio at 0.9 and H2CO CO2 mixtures. The main point is that the validation was done, and when you are doing H2CO CO2, the formation of soot is and the smoky flames are seen. So there is formation of iron carbonyl components, So measurement of syngas is expected to achieve using different diverging channels which can accommodate high inlet velocities.